Guys Pineapples. Today we are thrilled to welcome Travis Campbell to the show. With over 2 decades of leadership experience, including 20 years with the United States Air Force, Travis has successfully transitioned his skills into the world of luxury hospitality. He has said yes to becoming the hotel manager at the guest house at Graceland, a 450 key resort celebrating Elvis's iconic legacy. Travis combines Southern charm with world-class service. Now, he is known for his dynamic leadership and passion for team development. Travis has also left his mark on boutique properties like the Graduate Oxford, sprawling resorts like the Hyatt Regency Hill Country, and he's a proven expert in elevating guest experiences, mentoring teams, and driving operational excellence. Join us as we dive into his incredible journey and lessons from the front lines of hospitality and his unique approach to creating unforgettable guest and team member experiences. This episode is going to be a hunka burning love, so let's go inside. Welcome to the Yes Show. I'm your host, Christine Trippi. Each week, we'll explore the life-changing power of saying yes, along with hotel leadership made easy. Get ready for inspiration, fun, and sweet hospitality. Let's go. Now, you said yes to over 20 years in the United States Air Force.
Yes.
And moving that into luxury hospitality. So how did that come about?
So I started in hotels when I was 16 years old. I started working in the housekeeping department. Was anxious to get out of the housekeeping department. Loved it, but got to work all the areas. Actually, on my birthday, when I turned 18, they allowed me to move over to the front desk. And ironically, that first day on the desk, interested in doing the night audit. Again, I thought as a young man, staying up all night, sleeping all day, why not? That'd be a phenomenal role. So I ended up going into that. And our hotel was going through a very unique transition. We had a nightclub come onto our premises, which, kind of brought some new clientele. And actually one of those was a Air Force recruiter who came and said, you could do this in the Air Force. We have hotels on every base. We have resorts out there. So I was like, yes, sign me up. Basically, the thing I asked him is, can you get me stationed in Las Vegas? And the reason I wanted to get stationed in Las Vegas is so I could go to UNLV. He said, absolutely, like any Air Force recruiter will say. But I spent 20 years not doing that. I ended up going into logistics first, working into fuels on the flight line. So putting aviation fuel onto aircraft, doing some accounting, controlling the flight line operations, storage, some different aspects of that. And then at about my 10-year mark, they said, hey, those jobs are no longer available in there. Would you be willing to do something else? And I hoped I was going to get services, which is where the hotels fall into.
Right.
But they said, we don't have anything available there. How would you like to go into intelligence? And again, why would I not want to go into intelligence? So ended up spending the last part of my military career in intelligence operations.
Wow. Isn't that amazing? And see, this is what I talk about all the time. Is every time you say yes, you can change the world.
Yes.
And sometimes that world is your own. And look at the amazing things you did.
Absolutely. And I had so many great leaders that, because I always talked about, it was always one of those conversations, what are you going to do when you put the uniform up? And I was always talking about, well, I want to go back to hotels. I want to go back into something hospitality. So all the leaders that I told that always found outlets for me to kind of do hospitality related things, whether it be working events, for dignitaries and whatnot, being able to have insight and inputs into that, and also having an opportunity to work something that just, came together, creating a property management system for our dormitories over in the Middle East. So, so it was just, one of those things, just to be able to have your hands on and have inputs and be able to make operations a little bit smoother for them was phenomenal.
Wow. And never have I ever heard that you can go into the military and run hotels or run hospitality. So that's just another aha moment for people that would love to be part of the service, but also love hospitality. And you can take what you're passionate about into the service. So that's a really eye-opener for me. I did not realize that either. Tell us a little bit about that transition. Now, you came out of the service and went into what?
So I came out of the service. So the military has a phenomenal program known as the Skill Bridge. So it allows transition members, whether they're retiring or they're separating from service, to go out there as long as their commander approves it into civilian jobs and trying to get the skill sets that they might need to be successful for that transition. Unfortunately, my transition came right at the end of the pandemic. So I was,
Oh, is that right?
yes. So I was seeking hard to try to find something at hotel operations level. I had the opportunity to talk with Hilton, had the opportunity to talk with Marriott. They were really interested kind of more in what I had been doing in the military and apply that to some of their analytical roles. But I really wanted to get the property operations. So I had a phenomenal opportunity with Penn National Gaming. They said, hey, we don't have hotel operations, but how would you feel about maybe going and learning the table games side of things? So I ended up going to Penn National, to the Greektown Casino in Detroit, Michigan for a few months. Very phenomenal leadership up there. Really, going back to that was really that true essence of hospitality. I mean, they were working with folks that, of course, are there for the entertainment of the gambling aspect, but were just given phenomenal, guest service. It was almost like the story from your book, The Starfish, was always coming up there. So, and it was one of the things that resonated with me. But it was a phenomenal opportunity, and that's what I got. My opportunity was to not only focus on learning it, but also to help improving in their service, or the guest service operations.
And so did you learn that story from that position?
No, I had read it in your book before. So.
Yeah, I am just very curious. How did we get connected? How did you even come to know about my book?
If I'm not mistaken, I think I'd heard it on the Anthony and Glenn show, I think is where I'd originally heard it. And that's where I went to look for it on Amazon and found it. And then bear with me, I joined, you had a phenomenal program there that I was part of for a year, to where, and I forget the name.
The Crown Society.
Yes.
Right. Yes, you joined me in the Crown Society. Yes.
And the Crown Society was really right there when I was at the Hyatt Regency Hill Country Resort and Spa. So I was using a lot of those things in my time there.
I honestly forgot about that connection too. I just that is so funny. By the way, the Crown Society doors will be opening this month. That's so funny. Tell us a little bit about your leadership style. It's funny. I was wondering, as you were telling me about your time in the service, and you went in a hospitality person and came out a hospitality person. And I was wondering if that would have hardened you a little. How was that tough going back to it?
No. And a lot of people, ask that question, like, was it a rough transition coming from the military to hospitality? Because folks do perceive a different leadership style. Yes, within the military, sometimes there has to be a little bit more rigid structure and more kind of hands-on leadership to correct things. But one of the things I appreciated the most about the Air Force, and it was something I felt at almost all of my assignments, it was always, people first, mission always. And there was a lot of folks that were really invested into taking care of people, no matter what their circumstances and their situations were. So throughout my military career, I always resonated that back to hospitality. It's if I had people come into my office, I think I had a first sergeant once joke, I was like, thank you for being my guest today, sort of things, like, what are you doing, type of aspect. And that's what I saw it as, is, if they were coming to me, they were needing help for something. And what could I do to take care of the situation that they needed resolved?
And something I talk about with Yes is the Answer is that everybody has a customer.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's your 3-year-old, your mother-in-law, it doesn't matter. Yes. Everybody has a customer, and they deserve hospitality.
Yes. And, the other skill set that really, when I was a young hotelier, didn't really understand it a lot. But when I got in the military, I understand it, being adaptive to different environments and different situations was very important. And the things that the military taught me and I learned on that aspect are definitely applicable today. When I was at the Hyatt Regency, I was sometimes called the guest whisperer. And, that was something I learned from the military, is I don't need to be talking all the time. Like, sometimes I just need to sit back and listen. And most of the times, as you know, the guest is going to tell us exactly what they want. Maybe in not so many words, but the little inklings are going to be there. And sometimes they'll tell us exactly what they want. So.
Yes, absolutely. Now, you were a big fan of Elvis from the age of 5. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So coming full circle, this is absolutely amazing. So,
Yeah, right.
so
And
I,
wait, where did you grow up?
so I grew up in Northeast Tennessee, up in
Okay,
the
so
Elizabethton
Tennessee.
area.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're a Southern boy.
I am a Southern boy. My mother was an Elvis fan, so it was always around. But I still remember being out of school for a week. I was sick, and I was watching a famous channel that showed Elvis movies during his birthday week, which is coming up here shortly, the 90th. And I remember the very first thing on was Elvis on tour. So being a young man watching this, I remember I was eating my bowl of cereal, and there's just this one segment where you see him in 3 different colors of jumpsuits. And I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And then I saw him go on the stage and start performing, and I was just blown away because he had the audience in the palm of his hand. No matter where he went, the eyes were following him. And I just loved that aspect of it. And I also had 3 pajama onesies in the same color. So yes, I did put those on and start trying to act like Elvis the best I could. I
love that.
But the very next one that came on was Elvis, That's the Way It Is. And it was his opening of the International Hotel in Las Vegas in 1970. So there was something about just, the preparation for that, getting ready to go on stage. But there are some scenes in there where you see folks that are greeting and welcoming folks as they come into the International Hotel to see the show. And there was something about that that just resonated with me. And I instantly had an interest not only in Elvis, but casinos and hotels. So I remember going to the library, the school library, that very following next week and saying, can I have books on Elvis, hotels, and casinos? She's like, we don't have any of those. You need to go to the public library. So I did.
That's adorable. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Now, is your mom still with us?
No, my mom did pass away. And my mom is actually the one who brought me into housekeeping. She was, yes, she was my inspector and my trainer for probably my first month.
So she was in hospitality too.
She was.
Okay.
Yes.
That's so adorable. I love that. It's a little family business.
Yes.
So did she pass before you started here?
She did.
Well, she knows.
Yes,
knows.
This would have been a dream come true for her. So.
No, I could just imagine. It gives me goosebumps. That's so sweet. So now, what's your hospitality green area? Like, what would you say you are the absolute expert in? Like, what do you love to do in hospitality? What do you love to teach? What's your green area?
So my area that I love is the data and the analytics. So as we have systems that give us so much information, my GM will probably, laugh. Because I will send him, what the ADR of this room in particular is, sort of information.
Yes, fine.
And send that to me.
Yes.
And I also
What is it?
Oh, well. This one is about 1275 right now.
Wow.
So, but yes, I absolutely love the data part because we can get so much information that we can provide back to the guest or that we can provide back to the operations to make it more efficient. And that's the part I love. So messing around with systems like hot sauce or, we just went into logistics here. So I'm absolutely loving that as we're starting to bring that online and work through some different things because it's going to give us all kinds of data that our engineering team can use. And again, it's going to show us some of those things on, hopefully the front desk on some of these operational efficiencies we can work on.
Yes, working smarter, not harder.
Yes.
Now, for your guest experience scores, you use Medallia?
So we use a program known as Revenate, which is very similar to Medallia.
Okay.
So we take in our social media reviews through that, and then also we do surveys that are sent out to the guests. By the way, feel free to mention good things about us.
Yes. Oh, by the way, I will. I already plan on it. If I'm just completely being 100% genuine and serious, staying at a place like this elevated the entire experience of visiting Graceland astronomically.
Yes.
I mean, from the peanut butter sandwiches, which is so simple, but it's just this activity, this experience, this part of Elvis kind of thing. From the jumpsuits in the hallway to the EP, finding the little Easter eggs, the music at night. There's just no comparison to going budget.
Yes.
In a typical type of courtyard, your everyday courtyard, and nothing wrong with any of those properties. Obviously, I love them, but the elevated experience is next level here.
Thank you so much. And this hotel complements, and I think you had mentioned, hey, my husband's wanting to come to Graceland, so how can I let you stay at the Courtyard when we have a hotel that so nicely complements the whole Graceland experience, but not just Graceland. I mean, it's a great compliment to the city of Memphis as well, because Elvis had so much influence, was a big part of Memphis. And we have lots of guests that come here, international guests that are here to see Graceland, but they want to go down to Bill Street. They want to experience Bill Street. They'll go to that rival hotel, the Peabody, to see the Ducks and that sort of stuff. But that's all part of it. It's all part of historical Memphis. And it's great to be in this setting, in this city, and have a hotel like this that complements both so very well.
And these finishings are next level. I said also, the minute I stepped out on that carpet without my shoes on, I went, hot damn tamale, man. I keep channeling my Elvis flow here. But sincerely, the carpet, I have never stepped on carpet that felt that luxurious. Oh, wow. And the bed was delicious.
And we've got the shaggy carpet
shaggy carpet here. So all the finishings, and the Peabody is part of historic Memphis and amazing. Tell us about some of your most exciting guests that you've had here. Can you share any famous people that have stayed with you, or any of your, I always love to talk about, ask hoteliers who is their most favorite check-in, famous check-in. Okay. Do you have any particular experience here or any of your properties?
So I'll say the cliche thing. Every guest to me is a VIP, is a celebrity. We just had General Hospital weekend, and this is one of the things, I was training the front desk on. They were asking, hey, do you have any celebrities staying here? The thing is to remain mum and make sure it's system private. And I was like, your response should have been very simple. Yes, 2 celebrities right here for you, sort of response. But in my time here, we have had Elvis, the newest movie that came out. We've had cast members from that movie stay here.
Really?
Yes, and they were all very, very phenomenal. Not high key, not a lot of maintenance. They were, very, very friendly, very easy to work with. So that was phenomenal. From Austin Butler to Tom Hanks, just to say a few that stayed here. Tom Hanks playing Colonel Parker, and then Austin Butler playing Elvis, which that movie in general has opened up a whole new set of generational fans. And I say that because my daughter, when I took her on a tour of Graceland the same time you were here, she kept hoping that she was going to see Austin Butler. But that's what made her an Elvis fan.
Yes.
So as we were walking through it, we went through the Elvis movie exhibit, and she loved that. But as we came out, she's like, Dad, I just did not realize how much he influenced so much as a man. And I was joking. I was like, you talking about Austin Butler? And she's like, no, I'm talking about Elvis.
This time I'm talking about Elvis. That's so sweet. I have another really cute story. We were sitting in the lobby bar listening to the music, and a young man who was traveling all by himself, this was his bucket list trip, and he just loves Elvis and wanted to see Graceland. And I said, how did you become such a devout fan? And he said, Lilo and Stitch.
Yes.
Isn't it so cute?
That is, yeah.
And we sat with him a couple of nights, and it was really, really sweet just getting to know him and hearing about his bucket list trip. And he was here all by himself, and it was nice to get to know him.
And it is. And that's one of the things I love to hear most about guests when I'm talking with them, is how they became a fan of Elvis. Because I share my story, and they're blown away with it. But it's from, everything from someone visiting Memphis here with a friend once back in the 70s, and merely getting a glimpse of him coming out the gate. Wasn't even here to see him, was here with the friend who was trying to catch a picture, but absolutely fell in love with him just because he waved, stopped the car, and got out and signed autographs. And she was like, he was such a genuine individual. And she's like, every time he came into my hometown after that, I was making sure I was buying tickets to his concerts.
I love that. And that's what it's about, hospitality. Yes. And when you were talking about every guest is a VIP, one of the things I always taught my teens is that we treat our regular guests like celebrities, and we treat our celebrities like regular guests.
Yes. and most of the ones I've worked with, that's how they want it. So, yes.
Exactly. And to your point about him treating people nicely, that is why I am a forever fan of Jay Leno.
Yeah.
He was my favorite check-in at the Crowne Plaza.
Yes.
He was my favorite check-in. He was so nice to us.
So mine, I don't know if I can say the name, but I
Okay.
will say he's a very famous frontman for a band.
Okay.
And he travels under a female pseudonym. So
Oh.
I was downstairs and I got a call from the front desk, ultimately saying, "Hey, this is a little suspicious. There's an individual at the desk. He's saying his room is under this name. Sounds like a female name, but it's a male standing in front of me." So of course I go up there. We had a list of the VIPs, so I knew instantly who it was. So I
Oh.
was like, I've got to get up there to see this. So I go up there immediately. Boom, there he is, right there in front of me. So had the opportunity to, let me walk you to your room, which I do with all guests if I have the guests. But let me walk you up to your room. So just walking them up to the room, very down to earth, very genuine. And again, he was doing the same thing you were, and that's what I love is he was just taking in the hotel. He's like, "Oh, look at that. That's
Yeah.
amazing." And then we walked into the room. He's like, "Can you just tell me just a few things about the room really quick?" And it was actually this room that he was staying in. So,
Oh, really?
or a similar one. So you got to walk in. And he's like, "Oh, that's just so amazing that this is a room in the honor of Elvis's parents, and it takes off that Palm Springs flair."
Yeah.
So it's just moments like that that are very cool. So that's been my favorite
Yes.
so far.
Now, who, if you could check anyone in or serve here at the hotel, is
Oh,
there
wow.
any celebrity that you would just, oh, that would be it for you?
Oh man, I don't know. That'd be a tough one. I don't. I hate to use the term. I'm not a big fanboy,
Okay.
but I've had lots of opportunities throughout my career to check in different things. I will say probably one of my favorite back in the day. I will bring up as well, and I'd love to check him in again. He's much older now. Is the famous wrestler Ric Flair?
Oh,
He was a little bit younger at that time, and I remember he
funny.
was just having a good time in our hotel lobby. Gave him his room number, and he did the standard woo as he went. So.
Okay, now from the nightly Elvis music to the movies to the peanut butter jelly, and of course I love that. I love anything with food. All these little Easter eggs and influences of Elvis.
Mhm.
Is there anything that you, being an Elvis fan, would love to add to your experiences? And this is just kind of dreaming, so no budget. Is there anything you'd love to add?
I would love if we had a personal pink Cadillac that we could go to the airport to pick up guests or to take them to the famous barbecue place that everyone else goes to in said Cadillac. But I would
Yeah.
like to have our own pink Cadillac to do those sort of things, and I think the guest would eat it up. We have a new experience here known Presley for a day. And one of the things like I thought about is how cool would it be if they got picked up in that pink Cadillac, or drove out of the guest house, and then they're taken up, the drive in a pink Cadillac. It would just be one of those things that
Yes.
would be amazing.
And I'm wondering if, because I was going to ask you this too, if you have any like completely elaborate package that is just maybe back of the scenes, elaborate pack. I've seen, I think it's in London, there was this package and it had a helicopter ride. It had martinis with gold flecks in it.
Oh,
It was
wow.
$100,000 package. Like, do you do anything over the top extraordinary packages?
So the Presley for a day is probably our most unique and fun experience for the Elvis fan
Okay.
that just came online. But to complement that, we have Stay Like a Presley. So where they could stay here in the hotel, stay in one of those suites. And some of those little things that we add in is, one, they can eat breakfast all day because Elvis was known to get up in the middle of the day and normally have his breakfast usually later in the day. So that's part of it. And then the one thing that we've added that I really like is those guests can use the movie theater at their leisure, which is something that Elvis would often do here in Memphis. Is he would go to the Memphian and have a movie played for just him and his friends. So we offer that as part of the Stay Like a Presley.
I love that. Stay like a Presley. I love that. Now, how do you communicate that operationally? How do you manage that?
So we've got an amazing marketing team here, and this is the one thing I will highlight about our hotel is it's a truly independently owned and managed property by Elvis Presley Enterprises. So we share some resources, and we have a phenomenal marketing department that really puts Elvis out there. So they do a lot of marketing, not only on our website, but marketing through other outlets to promote this. And one of the things that we're working with our front desk team is to really kind of identify and highlight those Elvis fans to talk about that experience so that they will want to take advantage of it next time they come. Because that is the one thing that we luckily do have is a lot of folks will come here and it might be a bucket list item, be like, no, we got to do this again. So
absolutely. There's no way I'd go anywhere else if I were coming back. Yes, this has been just so brilliant. Tell us a little bit about how it is running a property like this. It's so different than anything else. The clientele is different. And then you also work with many high-level people. Like you said, you consulted with Priscilla Presley for some of these. You have such an amazing demeanor and well-spoken. But I know when Mr. Marriott would visit one of our properties, it would be like, oh, how do you keep yourself in check for all of that? It's just such a different concept than just being at your regular.
Yes. So for me working with the guest, I kind of use the simple view as every guest in front of me is a new guest with new experience expectations. That's always my word. If the guest brings us issues, I don't like the word issues, it's concerns. And the other thing is, like I said, the key thing is just listening to them, because most of the time they're going to tell you. And most of the time our guests are here from everything from a bucket list item to this might be, unfortunately their last trip. So, picking up on those cues to make sure that, okay, now we've got to go just a few extra steps. And that's getting, we have a phenomenal director of rooms. We have a phenomenal front office manager, and you've met our executive housekeeper. She's phenomenal. So just putting that in their ear, and they know they're empowered, but they will run naturally and do things to take care of these guests. That's absolutely phenomenal. Sometimes we might get those little things. Well, I might get back a little bit late, but I don't want to miss the peanut butter and jelly. And the one experience that it would definitely be lost on me if I did not talk that. Okay. You just got the sandwich part of the peanut butter and jelly, but we have a very special lady here named Anna Hamilton, who is currently away from the property. We're hoping to have her back here in December. But she, I give all kinds of rumors about her. So her story is she would see Elvis when she was working at the movie theater. She got the opportunity to see him. But she is a very unique part of that peanut butter and jelly because she's usually always there providing it to the guests, taking pictures with the guests, telling stories. She's also the one that was running our movie, so you'd see her in there. But she's just a very special part of this hotel as well. And she's another one, when it comes to the operations, putting it in her ear, and she will make things happen. She will personally go over to a gift shop and find something that she knows will resonate with that guest, and make sure that they get that, or make sure that they're aware of that.
Yeah.
As you were talking about, we have a lot of unique aspects in this hotel. We have a phenomenal chief engineer who's really focused on, well, where can I find this? Where can I find that?
Nice.
To try to make sure that things get replaced. You're talking about some of the, some of the gold. Yes. And he is working through, okay, well, we can no longer find this product. So he is brainstorming and presenting ways to where we don't lose that feel. But that's some of the things that gets presented in a unique lifestyle. Type of
yes. And that's why I was like, oh, I've got to ask you about this, about maintenance. So silly. And
hopefully you've been able to eat at our outlets. We have Delta's Kitchen. That's kind of it's a casual, refined dining type of experience. And then we have EP's Bar and Grill, which is my favorite. If you got the grilled cheese sandwich, that thing is nothing but full of cheese and healthy. You maybe can eat 2 bites and you're full. But Chef Mario is going to make sure that everyone has enough on their plate for our food and beverage operations to our events here. We have this is a unique thing about us, is we have over 200,000 square feet of event space.
Yes.
Not just here in the hotel. We have a lawn. We're the only ones in Memphis to have a back lawn where things can take place. We've had weddings back there. We've had movie showings back there for guests to experience. As you were going through the museum, the Elvis Presley's Motors, that is a very popular place where folks will have gatherings in there, which is all part of that experience. So just from the operations, this is a phenomenal property, just really embedded in that legacy.
Now, you said you have over 20,000 square foot of space. It's beautiful. Also a theater that sits
464.
464. And I want to know, all the events that you've had here, have you had the Elvis impersonators event?
Well, we don't use the term Elvis impersonator.
Okay, that's an old term.
Well, because impersonator will be someone trying to act like
Okay.
So we use what I think is the best term is Elvis tribute artist, and we do have a whole weekend dedicated to Elvis tribute artists.
You do.
That come in. It's officially recognized by Elvis Presley Enterprises, and they will crown a Elvis tribute artist of the year every year.
That's so neat. Well, and the reason I bring it up is because in 1990, I was at the Crown Plaza, and that was my favorite event.
Yeah.
But back then it was called the impersonators.
And it's phenomenal to see some of these folks because you see them in the hallway, and they don't embody Elvis 24/7, but they bring it out when it's ready. Like you'll see them put on the wig, they put on the jumpsuits, and they just blow people away.
Yeah.
And the other thing is we love to have them back for other events. And they come back and they're just having a good time, and they're so good with the guests. It's just all part of that experience.
Now, Elvis had always dreamed about having a guest house here in Graceland, and this really is a fruition of his dream.
It is.
What do you think Elvis would think of the guest house?
I think he would love it, because part of the reason he wanted the guest house was primarily so folks coming to visit him, as you've seen the Graceland Mansion, he wanted people to be as comfortable as possible. So that's why he had the hope and vision of a guest house where the fans could stay, or not the fans, excuse me, the friends and family. But I think, our property not only brings in still to this day friends and family of Elvis, but it also brings in those fans, and it gives them that closeness and that belonging to the legacy that I think he would have appreciated.
Yes, I think I would have loved it, especially when I first drove up. The very awning of the front of the building, in front of the hotel, it looks like his house to me.
Yes.
Was that perfect?
It was, yes. It was to try to give a lot of those architectural similarities to the Graceland Mansion to, again, complement the overall experience.
Yeah, so it's just so well done and so beautiful. I just love it. Now, again, it's very different working here than your typical corporate hotel. Has that been any challenge for you at all, or?
So I think the and not to take away from Marriott Hilton, because they have the brand, the standards in place for a reason. But here we have a little bit of leeway, being a truly independent property. So we have things, when we talk about what is our brand, well, our brand is Elvis. So we're able to do some things. And I've worked with some great leaders here that really give you, the opportunity, well, how do we enhance the guest experience? And there's really no boundaries. So that's always one of those plus things. So that's one of the things that I've really appreciated being in an independent type structure.
Yes.
Just to give kudos to our general manager, Scott KP, he's one of those, every time we talk about guest delighters or guest enhancement, he's always like, well, can we do better? So no matter what, I mean, you can have the football field. Well, can we make it 110 yards?
Yes, that extra degree. I love that very much. And how long have you been here now?
I have been here since January of 23. So when we were talking about me watching Elvis during his birthday week and becoming a fan, it's also the same week that I started working here. So.
Yes, that's a good week to start.
It is, yes.
Just throw you right to the wolves.
And it was a lot of fun. Our GM at the time's like, go have fun.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Has there been any learning curve here?
Yes, coming from a property like Hyatt and Graduate, that's now part of Hilton. But even when it was Graduate, like you kind of have, and something I was using in the military, you kind of have a playbook. You kind of have game plans for some things. So, coming here, it's like, well, we don't really have that. But again, it kind of goes back to electric. Well, we can create it. We can make it our own. We can get people involved. And that's one of the things I love here is we have some people that have seniority, like I was talking about Miss Anna and some of our front desk folks. So as you're talking about, will this, SOP work? They're usually like, well, we've experienced this, and this in the past. It's like, oh, we need to change this. So those are some of the good things that we run into. Okay. But I think that was probably the biggest learning curve, is not being able to go into a shared drive or onto a website and be able to find the answer.
Yes. I love that. That's good. If you were to give tips to our listeners right now who are dreaming to work in an establishment like this, even of this size, of this significance, Is there any leadership tips you would give them?
Yes, and it sounds simple, but anytime you come into a big property like this, is don't get overwhelmed by it, and definitely use all of the resources. That's something I tell all folks that are wanting to be leaders. Have I learned great things from good leaders? Yes, and have I learned great things from bad leaders? Yes, and that's part of it, is really taking advantage of it, because in a hotel environment, you get so many different types of leaders and so many different types of personalities. So, my goal is always, I hope you stay in hospitality, but if you venture off, you're getting so much experience. And I just, I use the example, like a chef leads differently than maybe a director of rooms. And, sometimes different from a director of food and beverage, even though the chef and director of food and beverage are, in that same department. But it's really picking up on that. The same thing for an executive housekeeper. That was, when I think about leadership, that was really my first experience. Not only was my leader, my mom at home, but she was also a leader at work. And it was really, as a young kid, knowing her, but also seeing the other executive housekeeper and seeing the assistant executive housekeeper. That's where I got a lot of those early leadership lessons. Because, and I always try to start anyone in hospitality that's going through a program, try to get them started in housekeeping, because that truly is the heart of the house. They're gonna see the behind the scenes, and they're going to see a unique work environment like no other. Because at the end of the day, they've got to get things done, and most of the time they don't cut corners. Like they find ways to make it happen where it's safe. It meets the health standards and all those great things.
The rooms aren't done. Nobody else is working.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there's a very important, and it's very funny. Coincidentally, I started at 17 at a Hampton Inn as a laundry girl / van driver.
Yes.
So very similar there, very similar there. What's next for you?
Oh, wow.
What would you want next? And not that here it's going anywhere anytime soon, but just do you have any aspirations still that you want to reach, or products that you want to lead and manage?
It would be very hard to leave this property, but I'm hoping that next step for me is as a general manager role. Stepping in, taking the helm of a ship, getting the keys per se. But really, this experiences, I think, is where it's really at. So, the one thing that I'm really, looking more at is these properties that bring you in with nature, and that you're getting that, natural landscape, environmental type of experience. So if I should leave here, that's where I would hope to be next, is somewhere bringing guests back to nature, a little bit of a focus on wellness and those sort of aspects.
Love that. Do you have anything as an example of that? Are you talking about like that's a national park?
Like a national parks,
that's where I
Hawaii, Alaska, those sort of areas, because just natural beauty all around you. They bring so much unique culture that just gives you an opportunity to provide experiences that you may not have thought about before.
Yes, that would be amazing. And to be at the national parks would be amazing. And do you have any travel aspects, being in our travel industry? Do you have any travel bucket list items for you?
Oh, wow. So definitely going to Hawaii would be one. Going to Alaska would be one. But being in the military, I was very fortunate. To travel everywhere from South Korea to almost just about every country that we can in the Middle East.
No kidding.
And that, again, as a young admirer of hospitality, it's unique to go to a country like South Korea and see how they do hospitality, which, by the way, I did do a part-time job there when I was in South Korea at a hotel. And I was the only English person that was there. So guests thought I was inexperienced. So they would be waiting in line and they would shift while they were in line. So this clerk would have no one and I would have everyone. And they'd be like, and again, it was just a unique experience. And then,
that's cool.
And then the hospitality that you don't think about, but it's really unique and intriguing, is the Middle Eastern and their hospitality and how they very are, there's a lot of luxury standards and luxury amenities and high level, service that you get. I think about the Doha and Sheraton. I was just there to go to the buffet, and they're putting me on a golf cart so I don't have to walk to the buffet. So it's just those little extra touches that I just absolutely love.
Yes, I I hold myself in a very high regard of hospitality. I just am always, how do I take it to the next. And when I've seen certain aspects in other countries, I thought, whoa, you've got a lot to learn, girl, because it is absolutely impressive. When I was in China, it was their service, and I didn't expect it. It was just next level. And just recently, I did a training. Yes is the answer. Training virtually in the Philippines.
Oh, awesome.
And these are all young, just about to graduate college. They were next level, and they haven't even been out in the world yet. So it's very interesting getting now to see a little bit of the world.
It is.
And what hospitality means to other countries. I was blown away.
Yes, and when you talk about, the goals of what it could be next, that's something I've thought about as well as international, hospitality. Like right now, I look at a lot of the Middle Eastern tourism, like Dubai, because what they have done there to make sure that they sustained an economy was amazing. And now what they're starting to do in Saudi Arabia, which kind of hits on some of geopolitical things, but the country is adapting so that they can take advantage of how powerful tourism is and can be.
Yes. And this is so interesting because I had somebody from Saudi Arabia reach out to me, and they absolutely love my book. Yes is the answer.
I love it.
And I'm like, how did you know about my little book? And it blew me away. And he had me on his podcast in Saudi Arabia. And I'm like, now this is something.
Yes, that is.
So it's very interesting to be able to, and an honor for me to be able to share this message.
Yes.
That all I wanted to do was share it with people who I might not meet. Now to know it's going to other countries, that's so cool.
It's made a profound impact. Like for me, for instance, like your book did change me. Like I was like, I loved reading it, and then when I joined the Crown Society, I was like, oh, this is when we're talking about young leaders in hospitality, like those are things to look at. Is read what experienced folks in the industry are telling you through books, through their podcasts, and stay on touch on that, because it'll be Glenn and Anthony just amaze me, and you amaze me, like just little tidbits that you hear and you're like, oh wow, yeah, that's amazing.
And the biggest reason why is because it will change your mindset.
Yes.
And 80% of our results are our mindset. It's not the strategy that we know, the experience that we have. It's how we walk into the day and show up.
Yes.
And by listening to people like that, that is very inspirational.
And you're giving me goosebumps. I had a commander, call sign Magic, use that same thing. We can have all of these orders, we can have all of these battle plans, etc., but it's going to be how you show up when you come through the door, and that always resonated with me. No matter how you do it, how you come through the door is what's really
how you show up. Yeah. I love that. Now, one of the things I do with my podcast is I ask every guest to give me a question for the next guest. So I'm going to ask you to do that, but first I'm going to let you answer my last guest.
Oh goodness! Okay.
And it's a really easy one. So he said, I want to do the 2-in-1, which is 2 leadership books, and you don't have to say mine. that you would recommend, or two books that you really have impacted your life, and then 1 quote that you live by, or a favorite quote.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, I know, I'm putting you on the spot.
Oh wow. No, and I'm not being cliche, but your book is definitely one that I would recommend, and it's slipping my mind. I do apologize. Anthony's most recent book has been a big impact on me. Still one that I go back to. The Ritz-Carlton, the Standard. That's the one that I always like to go back. Like I said, I'm so sorry I'm forgetting the name of these.
Yeah, that's okay.
And then
I'll put them in the show notes though, and the links to get those books. So yeah.
And then it's cliche, but it really is. It's just the Maya Angelou quote is people, and it was something I heard in the military as well. People are not going to remember, what you said or how you did it. They're always going to remember how you made them feel, and that's something that I always try to stick by.
Yes, same, and it's in my book too. For me, one of my personal favorite quotes is, "A year from now, you'll be glad you started today."
Yes.
Which is all really, when you think about it backwards, is all about saying yes. If you say yes today, you are going to be so grateful that you started today, a year from now. But in hospitality, one of my all-time favorite quotes is, and I use this in a lot of my teaching, is that hospitality exists when the other person knows you're on their side.
Oh, wow.
And when you start with no, then nobody believes that we're on the same side. And by just opening up, again, how you show up, opening up to people and just being there for them, just being for a moment, they get that message loud and clear from you that you're on their side. I just love that about our industry, that we get to do that.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. All right, now what question do you have for our next guest?
Oh, wow. I feel sorry for them unless they're in that segment. So a question that I'm always asking myself and looking to is, besides AI, what is going to be the most impactful technology impact on hospitality in the next decade?
Do you want to answer that?
Well, I don't quite know. I'm always looking at it to see. I know there's a lot of talk about AI and how AI is going to influence things. And I love that most of the advocates in our industry is, yes, it's going to be great to feed things, but you do not forget the human part of it. So that's always my biggest thing. So.
Yes. I can't help but think that it's going to somehow be the cleaning part of labor.
Yes.
The labor part. But everything I've seen so far is not going to cut it.
It might be robots starting to clean for us.
Yeah, and I've seen some of what they've gotten so far, and I just can't. My brain doesn't go there yet of how it can really happen. Like a housekeeper can do it, but that'll be interesting.
Yes, always interesting to hear people's different perspectives and thoughts on that.
And one of my key mottos is energy times execution equals sweet results. So we're all energized from this great talk. And what do you think are 3 takeaways for our leaders out there listening today from our conversation? 3 takeaways.
First one, take advantage of the unique experiences that surround you, whether they be famous or not. Like they're all around us. So take advantage of
your local attractions.
Yes.
If a candy is made in your area, there's so many things absolutely all of us can do.
Yes. The other thing is learn from those folks around you in this industry. Like I said, there's all types of different leadership styles. You can learn what to do right and learn what's not to do.
Yes.
So definitely take advantage of that. And then the final thing is there's no better place than Memphis, Tennessee, and Elvis Presley's Memphis, Graceland, and the guest house in Graceland.
Hot damn tamale, man, that is for sure. Say yes to coming out to the guest house here in Graceland and come visit TC.
Please.
That was amazing. That's a wrap for today's show. Say yes to taking action and changing the world one yes at a time. And oh, my friend, will you say yes to review, like, and subscribe? The more yeses you give, the more juicy goodness I can bring to all of you wise pineapples. Cool or cool?